Let's see what's out there.
Hello and welcome to Home Media Minefield presents Let's See What's Out There, a weekly video stream and podcast currently focused on Star Trek Picard Season 2, which is available to watch on Amazon Prime and Paramount Plus. My name's Keith Isles, and once again I am joined by
Pete Mealy.
And we are both film and television enthusiasts. And in today's episode, we're going to have a spoiler-filled conversation around episode 1 of season 2, The Stargazer. So if it's your first time here, welcome. Please check out some of the other work on this channel. And if it seems to be your sort of thing and you want to carry on seeing this, consider subscribing to the channel, hit the bell icon so that you get notices. And if you like this video, give us a thumbs up and a like as well. If you're listening to us on the podcast, Let's See What's Out There's available on all good podcast apps, then please consider giving us a review. It all helps. So with that little bit of housekeeping out of the way, hey, Pete, we're back where it all began.
Keith, I can't wait to get back into it. Yeah.
So it's a little over 2 years since we set up the podcast originally, before it became a video stream. Let's See What's Out There was the beginning of season 1 of Picard, is where we started with that, having done many previous podcasts and had many conversations on the Movie Heaven, Movie Hell podcast about Star Trek, amongst other things. And then, of course, it's probably about a year since Picard season 1. About 2 years, should I say, since Picard season 1 ended, right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So, but we've done plenty of other stuff since. We have covered on this channel Star Trek Discovery. We've covered Marvel series like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, What If, Loki, and what else? Oh, all of them.
Movies.
Right? We've also covered Star Wars, The Mandalorian, and the Book of Boba Fett. So you can find all of that stuff neatly put into playlists on this channel, and available as well on the podcasts. So yeah, check it out. Absolutely. Did I miss anything, Pete? I don't know. I feel rusty.
Well, we're back in the Let's See What's Out There saddle. It's a little bit of a different vein for us, but for the past year. But I couldn't be happier to be back talking about Picard. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, you're obviously based in the US. I'm in the UK, and obviously Star Trek's been a bit of a tricky thing lately because we have covered, as I said, Star Trek Discovery previously, up to and including season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. But of course, there has since been a 4th season, which you've seen, but we haven't had here in the UK. So I feel kind of blessed that Amazon Prime are still continuing to show Picard over here, because we haven't been able to talk about Discovery, and I've been doing everything I can to avoid spoilers on that. And of course,
Prodigy.
Prodigy. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. There's been other shows, right?
I mean, they're still doing Lower Decks. So Lower Decks had a season 2. We talked about Lower Decks a little bit, but you and I were both not that into it, so we let it go by the wayside. But Star Trek Lower Decks had season 2, and they renewed for season 3. Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy, another animated show, which is the Janeway one.
Right.
If you want to call it that, although that doesn't do it justice. There's that one, and then Discovery season 4 is ongoing right now. I don't think it's ended. We just got out of a break, I think. So yeah.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So anyway, at least Picard's where it all started.
I can't tell you the relief I feel, because I'm I am current with Prodigy. I am current with Lower Decks, even though I hate it. And I am not current with Discovery, but I will say that like so many times I've been just itching to talk to you about stuff that has happened in in one of those shows. Um,
Yeah.
so now I it's a great sense of relief to be able to, talk about Picard again.
And hopefully later this year we can talk about those shows, but it will feel somewhat after the event because of the fact that it would all have already screened in its entirety. The nice thing we can do with this is obviously we're getting these shows weekly. We're back to that model, and we can speculate and discuss and theorize and see where it goes. I mean, it just for any new listeners out there, we do have a format basically that we used to do for this show. Just to give you a really quick rundown in case you're new here. So we go into a spoiler-filled summary about the show, which we call Engage. And then we basically go over some of the production credits as well in Make It So. And, we didn't go into any huge detail. This won't go on for hours, but we like to salute some of the behind the scenes because we are both filmmakers as well, so we're interested in the production aspects. Then we have Tea Earl Grey Hot, which is a little bit of fun. We just look at some references to others and connections to other Star Trek properties, or indeed other films and TV shows, and we look at Easter eggs. Now, we won't spot every single one. As I said, it's just a bit of fun. If we miss any, which I'm sure we will miss loads, feel free to get in touch. Then we've got There Are Four Lights, which is basically our predictions and speculations on where we think it might go in the next episode. Then The Line Must Be Drawn Here, which is our thoughts and nitpicks on the particular episode we're discussing. Plus, we've got a new rank pin rating system where Pete and I will rate that at the end. And then if anyone wants to get in touch at any point, we've got our opener channel, which we give all of our contact details to all of the content that we have, and an opportunity where you can provide feedback if you wish. So there you have it.
Perfect.
Now,
Perfect.
we got a bit of business we're going to do before we get into it, though, right? As it's the first week back. This might run slightly longer than our standard episodes, but yeah. Do you want to set it up, Pete? I feel like I'm doing all the talking.
I will. So if you're watching the stream, you'll see that I'm wearing a wonderful Star Trek scarf. And I will say that this was given to me by Keith, who is just an absolutely wonderful gift giver and is so good at getting his gifts in on the appropriate time. He sent me and my wife there the scarf and the hat. And I, on the other hand, am not that good at getting gifts on time. I think I sent you your birthday present last year, like a month late, Keith. And holiday gift giving this year was no different. I think you got it a couple of weeks ago. But I said that this one I'm a little bit proud of. So I might be setting myself up here for falling on my face. But this one took me a long time to find. I've been looking for it for years. And so I think I would like to see you open it. Yes.
Okay, well, I mean, yes, this channel, Home Media Minefield, something that I have done on occasion is my really good friend filmmaker Mike Tack has been very generous to donate physical media to my channel, and I've had a few mystery unboxings which I've filmed with a reaction as well. So we're going to kind of do something similar here. So I've got this lovely box with arrows telling me which way up to hold it. I've not read any of the freight shipping notes or anything. With
I will say, when I shipped it, from the US to you, I tried to be very vague on the customs form, and they gave it back to me and said, no, you have to be more specific.
Okay.
So I was slightly more specific. I'm going to set it up. There are two things in here. First is the gift that, I got you because I was like, I know I need to get him a Christmas gift, and I couldn't find the thing that I wanted to get you. So I'm just going to give it to you anyway. It's, and then underneath that is the real gift. So
Oh,
go
right.
for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I've just realized this isn't going to work so well for our podcast listeners.
Oh, no, that's all right. That's all right.
So feel free to fast forward.
No. Keith, close your ears. But truly, podcast fans will know what this is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Blimey, it's feeling tense now.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just trying to. I've got my trusty cutting tool that I do all my physical media unboxings with, and I'm doing it here now for this. So you're going to get a commentary with this as well, guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
here we go. Yes. Oh, okay. There's a little card.
Well, yeah. When I sent it to you, I didn't think we were going to do an unboxing.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read the card as well because you've gone to the trouble. So it says, Layer 1, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Keith, I apologize for the delay. Yeah, we are in March now.
Yeah.
Part of the problem is that I didn't have the gift I got for you, but then situations resolved itself. So here are two gifts.
Yes.
Layer 1 is a reissue. Am I supposed to read this? Sorry.
Yeah. You can read it.
Okay. Layer 1 is a reissue. Sorry, guys. We are recording this live, even though it's not going to be put out till later. But a reissue of my favorite toy, the first run. I hope you like it too. Dig down for Layer 2. All right.
There you go.
So, wow, this is quite exciting. So,
I
feel like I should have set up another camera. So, is this? Oh, yes. So Layer 1 I have here.
I actually don't remember how I wrapped it. If I actually wrapped it in paper, or if I just put it.
Oh, wow.
Paper.
Okay.
Oh, okay, good. I did. I wrapped it in.
Yeah. So it's okay. We do cover Star Wars as well on this channel.
Yeah.
How cool is this? It is Endor Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
On a speeder bike.
Yeah. And
that is amazing.
That was my favorite original Kenner toy.
Yeah. I did not have this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the reissue from the 90s. It's not the original.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's a little bit different, right? But I really like that toy, and I hope you do too.
Oh, this is amazing. I mean, the detail on this is really good for one thing. I remember, obviously, I grew up with the original Star Wars toys because I'm so old, and they did not have the same amount of posability as these.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
They would sit with their legs under the handlebars straight out, sort of thing, which obviously didn't match the films. So so this is a closer representation, and then of course we got Luke. I don't think I ever had this as a figure because I'm not sure it was done in the first line. But this is and so he's got his Jedi outfit underneath with his black glove and whatever, but he's got the poncho and helmet on. That is amazing. Seriously.
Yeah.
So
I think they did do the Luke because I remember having in the original run the Leia and Luke on the land speeders, and I had the Ewok village, and I would do the whole thing with them back in the 80s. So yeah.
There you go. That is great. Yeah, and we've talked about this, haven't we? On the
we have talked about our favorite toys. Yeah,
there you go. That is actually a really cool toy. I like that. It's got the blaster cannon underneath there, and that the handlebars move here.
They did some good articulation on it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, I will no doubt play with that later. But thank you for that. And then there's a second layer, right?
There is.
And there's a note in the second layer as well.
There is.
This is going to be a feature-length episode.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Layer number 2. This is the gift I've been trying to get for a while. It's not perfect, but I hope it inspires some childlike joy. Thank you so much for being my friend. Oh, thank you, Pete. I'm touched. Sorry. Okay, so all right. So Oh my God. Oh my God. Right. Okay. This is brilliant. I need to explain. In fact, Pete, I'm gonna see if I
No,
can get
you need to go solo on you on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
go widescreen.
hold on 1 second. Right. So we talked about childhood toys, and when I was a young boy, my parents took me one time when I was on holiday to, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again, to the seaside or whatever. One day we were away, and I was already Star Trek the Motion Picture and Star Trek 2 and whatever were out, and I was really into this stuff, and they were rerunning the series on British television, and this had been produced some years earlier as a play set for kids, and it basically consisted of a belt, which is this, and then it had clips on, and you had a tricorder, communicator, and a phaser which fired little discs. And I was so obsessed with all this stuff as a kid, dressed up as Captain Kirk, etc. And I used to wear this. As I said, we picked it up secondhand in a charity shop. As I said, it had been produced some years earlier. It wasn't in a box or anything, but it had the communicator, I remember, was broken. But I still used my imagination as kids did back then. And yeah, it was one of those things. So the nostalgia that seeing this, I also can't believe that my waist used to be that thin.
Right.
When I was a child, when I was 5 years
It's
old.
amazing with the sizes on that. But it comes with the discs.
I see there's a couple of discs in there as well, which is amazing. And it's funny because the phaser, again, when you're a kid, that felt like a sort of life-size prop almost, which of course most of the toys they make now are life-size props, but there's a dinky little phaser with Star Trek on it. That is amazing, man. That's incredibly thoughtful of you. It just makes me smile because God knows where that ended up.
It's ridiculously hard to find the full set. And so I still owe you a communicator and a tricorder. But I found those, and they were in decent condition. And so I've been looking for that set since you told me about it on a podcast.
That's amazing. As I said, you've literally taken me back to my 5 or 6 year old, and I even use these props. I think I've talked about this before. I put a play on at school of Star Trek, which I wrote, produced, directed, even though I didn't know what directing was at that point. And I played Kirk, obviously, I've got nothing on Vic Moniana, obviously, but I got to do it. And as you can see now, even now, I'm wearing things like pin badges, and I've got my Star Trek mug, and of course, I'm home media minefield, so I've got Picard season 1 on Blu-ray right there. So, and the show has completely gone off the rails. Amazing.
Well, that's what we do best. Yeah. So Merry Christmas.
Oh, thank you so much.
I hope you enjoy it. I hope it does bring back.
It certainly made me smile. Both of those. It's very rare nowadays that I get toys, and I am obviously of the generation that still like toys and used to play with toys as a kid and all of this sort of stuff. So that is amazing, man. Thank you.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.
And I'm hoping you're finding the hat and scarf practical.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we better get on into a show, don't you?
Yeah. Let's get into it.
Oh dear! If anybody's found this channel for the first time, they're going to think, "Is this what it's like?" Is it? I mean, it can be sometimes, but
we've hit on, Star Trek
as well,
other dorkdoms, and then we've talked about, our childhood toys, which is
exactly
a fair amount of it. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you for that, Pete. It's brilliant, and it's great to be back. And so 20 minutes in, we're going to start the show. So it's time to engage.
That is fancy. Okay. Here we go. We open on a ship getting really beat up by what or whom we don't know. And as things get worse and worse, Picard pops up and starts the auto destruct sequence. Opening credits, and then we see Picard doing his grape thing and then being awkward with Laris, who kind of hints that she's open to making things more physical between them, but that doesn't go so well. Then we get some dream sequence stuff about Picard's mom, and then Picard wakes up and goes to Starfleet Academy to give a speech. He welcomes Elnor as the first fully Romulan cadet, and then he plugs this great podcast from the 21st century. Cut to 7 of 9, who has the Rios ship and is doing her thing with all the Rios holograms. Her Fenris Ranger thing with all the Rios holograms. Cut to Daj and Jurati. Daj is a diplomat now that synthetics are cool, and Jurati is her drunk sidekick. Cut to the real Rios, who is now in command of the Stargazer and has encountered a strange anomaly, and it's time to get the band back together. The anomaly is a message from the Borg asking for Picard to help. Back to Earth, Picard goes to Gainan to figure out why he can't find a wife. They have a bit of a chat, and then Starfleet calls, and Picard answers, goes to the Stargazer to figure out why are the Borg asking for help. 7 of 9 wants Picard to shoot first, ask questions later. Picard wants to talk, but then it all goes south, and something is hacking the starships. And then we are back to the opening, and Picard sets up the auto-destruct, and cut to black. Picard wakes up. What happened to the Borg thing? We don't know, but Q is here, and he says he wants Picard to figure it out. Credits.
Nice. Yes. Lots to dig into there, which we will do.
I'm sorry. There was a lot to recap there. I hope I didn't go too long, but
no.
There was so much to go through, and I was just cutting stuff out left and right. But yeah,
concise and on the money as always. And of course, we will drill into that. But first, we're going to have a look at the production side with Make It So. Okay, so this show is, this episode was written by Akiva Goldsman and Terry Matalas. Now, Akiva Goldsman has been involved as a producer on not just Star Trek Picard, but also Star Trek Discovery, but pretty much all of New Trek. There is a little bit of a change, though, this season. Akiva Goldsman is actually the showrunner for this particular season. Last season it was Michael Chabon. So they've changed showrunners. There has been a few changes, I think, in the management, etc., with Star Trek and Paramount and CBS and all of the goings on with that. But as I said, Akiva Goldsman, he has written quite a lot of Star Trek previously. But he's done a lot in film and television over the years. I think we've spoken about him before on this podcast, and it's fair to say, I would say his career is very hit and miss. He's done some absolutely fantastic stuff, like the Grisham films, like The Client and A Time to Kill. He's done not so good stuff like Batman and Robin from the 90s. But he's worked on things like A Beautiful Mind, I, Robot, Cinderella Man, The Da Vinci Code, I Am Legend, Angels and Demons, The Losers, The Fifth Wave, Transformers, The Last Night, again, back to things that don't work so well. And he's been a producer on a lot of other films as well as writing. He's also worked on the series Fringe, which probably began his association with Alex Kurtzman, who of course is the one of the executive producers of New Star Trek, and here he is as the showrunner and co-writer of this episode. He shares that credit with Terry Matalas. Now, Terry has been a writer in the industry for a little while. He was a co-creator and showrunner on the TV version of 12 Monkeys, which was on the Sci-Fi Channel. But other work, I mean, he does have a Star Trek connection, which I know you're like, Pete, because he wrote some episodes in season 3 of Star Trek Enterprise. So it does go back to that. He's also written for Terra Nova, Nikita, Night Flyers, and MacGyver. So again, some pretty impressive credits there. In the directing chair for this one, we've got Doug Ariankowski, who again has been involved in other seasons of Star Trek. He's done some episodes of Discovery, but he's also worked on the short treks. Outside of that, he has worked on shows like Criminal Minds, Sleepy Hollow, Arrow, The Flash, Limitless, the series, American Gothic, and SWOT. So, and most recently, a couple of episodes of Clarice, the Hannibal, well, the Silence of the Lambs spin-off show. It's nothing to do with Hannibal because of legal reasons. So there you go. Those are our main production credits for this week's episode. And as we go on, we will talk about other people involved creatively in the production of this, and guest stars and things of that nature. But
I was just looking at Terry Matalas's stuff. You know, he started as a PA on Star Trek Enterprise.
There you go. Way back to Enterprise. And anyone who's a fond listener of us, Pete, knows that we've got fondness for Star Trek Enterprise, right?
Lots of it. Yeah, lots of
fondness for Star Trek Enterprise. So anyway, all of this talking has made me slightly thirsty. So I think it's time for some tea, Earl Grey, hot. Okay.
Or Earl Grey cold, as they say in this episode.
Absolutely. Yeah? Tea Earl Grey cold.
Cold.
Or maybe it's hooch or sorry brandy. You know, there was. I think one sort of caveat with this whole Easter eggs part is, you know, the show is packed with them visually, audibly. You know, things in the background. There's also, so we're not going to catch everything here. I must admit, I've only seen the episode once so far. So, and we've got a few pictures here just to prompt conversation, really. But before we get into that, actually, I do want to ask, it's just something I find quite interesting, and I wonder what your viewpoint is, Pete, on this. I think there's a Venn diagram where these do cross over, but there is, I think, a difference between Easter eggs and fan service. Do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times I think that there is a difference, and there's a real difference, but it's the difference in how it's received. You know, I think that it might actually be hard to tell the difference between an Easter egg and fan service from the production side of it. Mm-hmm. And maybe it's more about the skill with which other things or the whole package as a whole is being delivered. Right. But so I think that we've had lots of conversations, right, about fan service as we talk about these sort of things being brought back in or revived, like Star Wars and Star Trek.
Yes.
And you know, I think that I don't know if I felt like it was fan service in this episode, or if it was real Easter eggs. But yeah, I do think that the feeling that you get from it might have more to do with how you think the whole thing is doing versus what it actually is.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah. I also think it's important as well when there's the distinction about, you know, something just being there for the sake of it, or something that actually kind of enriches the world and enhances the story and connects to something else that we've already seen. So it depends how it's done. Sometimes things are done very winky and they're not so good, and other times it's done more subtle and works. But I don't know, I just find it's something that's always kind of discussed a lot nowadays, because especially the shows we tend to cover on this channel, like we've recently done with the Star Wars shows. And I had Charles Delors-Arica on one of the episodes, and he said, well, when it came to talking about the Easter eggs, he said, well, the whole show is almost an Easter egg. It's pulling out reasons why,
Yeah.
and what's relevant and stuff. So a couple of things. Obviously, with regards to the title of this show, as you well know, I do kind of like titles and stuff with double meanings and play on words. And of course, the Stargazer is thematic of this, because it refers not only to Picard's first command, the first vessel that he had, as he's said all the time in Next Generation, was the USS Stargazer, was his first command.
And there was that episode, right, with the Stargazer, where they brought the Stargazer back.
That's right. Was that called the Battle?
It's one of the revised oh crap, what are they called?
Phase 2 revised scripts. Yeah.
Or no, I was going to say it's one of the it's where they changed the Ferengi from like their initial sort of, like with the whips and the fur, and then we're like, oh, wait a second, Ferengi are going to be much more sort of like, money hungry business people. Yeah.
Yes. Now, we always caveat in these things that although we're Star Trek fans and whatever, we are not 100% experts and in every iteration of Star Trek, because let's be honest, there's a lot of content out there. But so if we
but I did look it up.
Oh, you did? Okay, good.
It is called The Battle, so good job.
Blimey, there you go. I actually got something right.
Nailed it.
There you have it. That's very unusual these days. But yeah, so it's the ship from that, but also, of course, it's the new ship in this that Rios is now in command of, is the new Stargazer. But also, of course, it's talking about Picard. This is a show about Picard, and he is a stargazer. His mum told him to look up to the stars and whatever. So I really, starting right with the title, I like this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking like I'm always doing. Any that jump out for you, Pete? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I have to go back to my notes now. Okay, so any connections that I saw. So yes, you've got the Stargazer on there. We had the return of Gainan, the return of Q. I really enjoyed seeing an Andorian in Gainan's bar. There was a plaque outside of Gainan's bar, but I didn't see what it was. I don't know if you caught that.
I did actually, yeah. Basically, the Guinan's bar thing, and this probably is a bit of a winky Easter egg, but I kind of like it. When Picard arrives there, before he walks into the bar, when he transports to the street is called Forward Street, and she is at number 10. So it's number 10 Forward Street, which okay. I mean, that doesn't spoil anything, because you have to really look for that. That's not in your face, right? But yeah, I don't mind that reference, cheesy as it is.
Yeah. Okay. Now that makes sense to me, because I watched it twice, and I was like, I'm missing this reference, but I can tell there's a reference here because the camera's going slow.
Yeah. One of the benefits of having a large 4K TV, you get to read things like that, which would probably be a bit blurry normally. But
I have to stop watching these things on my laptop. I have got to switch over to the TV.
Oh dear, it's
but
home
yeah.
media minefield, Pete. Come on.
I know, but like we said, like you're the home media person.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bigger screen as you can possibly see it on. Come on.
Yeah. Okay, so I said the Andorian. We talked about the Stargazer. I don't know if this was a continuity or an Easter egg, but I did like how in the sort of climax on the bridge of the Stargazer, Picard is reluctant to destroy what might be the last of the Borg, which I
Mhm.
thought was reminiscent to that Star Trek: The Next Generation episode, where like they figured out a way to use Hugh to wipe out all the Borg, right? But
Yeah.
then they decided not to. Picard was like, "No, I can't do this."
Yeah.
And so
Well,
I really liked how that sort of, people, that sort of character development I thought carried through.
yeah, and I mean this is where it's layered, because that one could also say as well that's somewhat of a reference to Star Trek First Contact, with the conversation, or should I say the argument that he has with Worf about Worf says that we've got to destroy the ship, and Picard says absolutely not, I won't back down. And it isn't until Elfie Woodward's character confronts him in the ready room that he comes round to that. So it's definitely layered. I mean, also I felt that there was a lot of connections here as well with Star Trek Generations, in so much when Picard's talking about the fact that he's the last in the line of Picards, etc. Obviously, in Generations, he discovers that his family, died in a fire at the winery, the vineyard. He's not only was his brother killed in that, but also his nephews. So that kind of feeds in here as well, I think.
Sorry. I was going to say the two other things that I thought of were that when Q shows up and says this is the road less taken or not taken, that it really reminded me of that other Star Trek episode where with Picard's heart, and Q shows him what it would have been like. Tapestry, right? Yeah.
Tapestry. Yeah, where he shows him the what ifs in his life. And of course he references that the trial never ends, which is a direct quote from All Good Things, which was the last episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation before they got into the movies. And the last one with Q, in fact, until this point. So there was that.
Why do you have a picture of from
right? Okay. Okay. So I'm wondering, I don't even know if I'm correct about this one, by the way, but I believe that when we see Soji in doing a diplomat bit, I believe that the people with them were Deltans, because they were all follically challenged but sensual, right? Which is the same as the character of Ilea from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. She was a Deltan who obviously got taken over by V'Ger and turned into a synthetic, interestingly, which is kind of another parallel. But I was more doing it that they were, I believe that she was doing diplomatic services for the Deltans, and that's why Jurati kind of got, she assumed that the guy was hitting on her, right? And was able to do a sort of drunk exposition about where she's at since we left the last season. So
that makes a lot of sense. I would agree.
So I put that in there. I've also put a picture there. Again, I don't know all of them, but when Picard is talking at the Academy, there's a lot of flags behind him from different races and cultures that we've met. I know that there's like the Klingon and the Ferengi flag. I noticed both of those, but there's probably some others, like maybe the Andorian flag, etc., behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick up on any of those? I don't know.
No, what I did notice was that it looks like the room that he's in that scene, they go to a wide shot, and I think it looks like the same sort of layout as a Star Trek Enterprise episode, where they have Archer giving a similar speech. So
right, yes.
I thought that was pretty neat, but I didn't have time to look at the Enterprise to go back and watch that episode again to make sure. But the layout of the room is kind of like an H, and that's
yes.
I remember that. Yeah,
I think you're correct. Yeah, I think it might have been the Terra Nova or one of those episodes.
Yeah,
which was
one of those.
The
Season
end of
4. Yeah.
Season 4. Yeah, I think so. Other things that I noted, I've got a little picture there of when Picard's given Elron the book, and so is it Elron or Elnor?
No, it's Elnor.
Elnor, sorry, Elron is Lord of the Rings.
Elron's Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Sorry, Elnor. Yeah, when he gives Elnor the book from Spock, which again, I love the fact that there's a book from Spock that he's got in his library, and I believe the title, I can't see it in that picture, but it was something like The Many and the Few. It was kind of a reference to the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. That from Star Trek 2. It was some play on that word. Again, anybody's listening to this, put in the comments, please correct me if I've got it wrong, but something like
the
that.
Many and the One.
The Many and the One. There you go. So so noted that. Also, over the tannoy, as I said, there's not just visual cues, but there's a lot of audible cues. There were things like other ships. There was the Hikaru Sulu, named after our favorite helmsman, stroke
and
captain.
The Grissom.
The Grissom, yes, which again was from Star Trek 3, and of course named after the Apollo astronaut. So yeah, the USS Grissom. The Excelsior, which of course was Captain Sulu's old ship as well. So, and of course we've got the Stargazer. So there were a lot of those sort of references in there as well. And the only other one, I mean, obviously there's in Picard's home, there are pictures and trinkets and ornaments and all sorts of things that I'm sure are intentional and link back to episodes of the show. I believe there's something that's links to Deep Space Nine, but my knowledge of Deep Space Nine isn't good enough to actually piece that together. So again, if anybody, it was something that he had on his table when he was talking to Laris there. He had in front of him, and I can't remember what it was, but it was like a sort of stone artifact, like his interest in archaeology type thing. And then the other thing, which was obviously we've got the Borg Queen and all of that stuff, but the self-destruct command where it was 000 destruct to 0, is the same as Kirk uses in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, when he destroys the Enterprise. So so that was another one I picked up on. But there are dozens more, and there's loads of other things to talk about for sure.
Yeah, did you notice that in the last scene, Picard's house person is now a synthetic, and it looked like the same model as we saw in season 1 at the Mars incident when the synthetics blew up.
That's correct. Yeah, and I believe he referred to him as Harvey, didn't he? I think in the in this episode. But yeah, it was the same. You're absolutely right. It was the same synthetics before the ban when we had the flashbacks in season 1. So
yeah,
yes, indeed. One thing I want to talk about really briefly as well, while we're on this, it's not it's sort of an Easter egg, but I just think we can have the discussion on this bit here is with regards to Gainan and Queue. Okay. It's interesting, a lot of, I kind of look personally, I like the way they handled the actors having aged 30 years or whatever since they last appeared as these characters. I because if you I find the thing with the de-aging, and obviously we've had this conversation, or we haven't, but this show has had this conversation with the things that they've done with Luke Skywalker in the Book of Boba Fett and the Mandalorian. The fact that they digitally de-aged Mark Hamill, or used a digital version of Mark Hamill rather than recasting like they'd done for Han Solo a few years earlier with that film. And I think that the problem with the whole, and the technology's got really good now, whether it's deep fake or CG or actor replacement or whatever, it's really good. But I almost feel that when they do that, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because it takes you out in so much of, if the CG is really, or if the representation is really good, you're kind of there going, wow, I can't believe how good that is. Look, that looks just like them. And you're distracted in that way, where again, you're thinking about that and not involved in the story. Likewise, if the effect is bad, you're there going, oh my God, that looks nothing like them. That's really bad. And you're pulled out that way. And if you recast, I've got a real thing about recasting, that can be distracting as well. Because we talked about with the Luke Skywalker thing, that they should have just used Sebastian Stan. But then I'd be there thinking, oh my God, he looks like Bucky or Tommy Lee, or whatever. But with this, I just think that the way they handled it here just allowed the actors to do their work and play the character, and it just dealt with it in a line of dialogue. Well, in the case of Guinan, it was just a line of dialogue that explained it, and in the case of Q, obviously you get the the fact that he's obviously a godlike being, so he appears as a young John Delancey, as the form that he used in the thing, and then instantly changes to the actor John Delancey today. And it kind of, he used it as a thing to catch up with Picard, like he used to change his uniform, what he was wearing or whatever, the representation of clothing that he would project to sort of mimic the situation. And I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling now, so
no. I'm glad that you brought it up, because it was one of the things that I have notes on here.
Okay.
And I will say that like I really liked how they did it with John Delancey. Because I thought that really fit the character and the backstory. I thought that they did the exact same thing basically with Q as they did with Guinan, right? Where Q was like, oh, I want to look this way, so I'm going to. And then Guinan says, I decided to let myself age. And it's like, well, why did you need that? Like, why did you need that? I didn't think you needed it.
But it's that sort of thing. Her justification for it was that, she finds that around humans, that it kind of makes them uncomfortable. I know, dealing with aging myself, it's like, I can kind of, see why she would do that or that. Well, I don't know. I just, my point was, I think that it was just, it handled it in a way that gave the actors the freedom to just play the characters and not be bogged down with any, dots on their face to be manipulated in post afterwards. Not to mention it probably saved a shitload of money as well.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I guess my point is that I totally agree with doing it for John Delancey. I totally agree with handling it the way they did for both, right? Let the actors be the age they are. With John Delancey, you made it a joke, and I was like, oh, that's funny. With Guinan and Whoopi Goldberg, I felt like they called attention to it and they didn't need to, right? Maybe that it goes to that difference between fan service and an Easter egg, right?
There you go.
Like,
Yeah. See, we've come full circle.
yeah, we've come full circle. I think that if they just hadn't said anything about Guinan, like, I wouldn't have been thinking like, oh, wait a second, wasn't her character like 400 years old and 30 years ago? So why does she look 30 years older human terms now? I never would have thought that, right? Like, I
Right.
just would have been like, oh, great, there's Guinan. With John Delancey, yeah, I probably would have thought like, oh, why does he look so much older if he's a mythical god being, right? But yeah, anyway, it was, and then also like the joke was so good when you get to see it happen that it felt sort of like a letdown having them like do the joke 20 minutes earlier, but you didn't get to see it happening, right? So
Yeah.
from like a writing perspective, I didn't like that they used the same plot device twice in the same episode.
Right. Yeah. No, that's fair. I see, and I see exactly what you mean. Bottom line is, for me, it was an absolute delight to have both Whoopi Goldberg and John Delancey back in these roles because I do like them both, and and it kind of makes sense as well. I mean, Picard going to see, which we'll get into, I'm sure, but Picard going to see Guinan in that kind of scenario made sense. I thought
100%, 100%. Yeah, Guinan still running a bar.
Yeah.
But this time on Earth, it made sense, right?
Yeah.
She'd already liked being in San Francisco, right? As we know from when she was hanging out with Mark Twain in San Francisco.
There we go. Yeah, that's
so
correct.
Yeah. Like, although this one was in Los Angeles, but whatever. So I love seeing Guinan. I hope we get to see more of her, but I don't know how much we'll get to see of her. Obviously we'll get a ton more John Delancey, right? We're assuming.
I guess so. Well, okay, that brings us very nicely then into the next section. Which is There Are Four Lights, which is our just speculation about where we think this might be going next week. First question I've got, actually, because we've had this conversation before on previous episodes that we've done of other seasons. Here in the UK, we don't get any coming next week trailers.
Yeah.
I know you used to say that you got those in the US. I just wondered whether with Paramount Plus, now it's not CBS All Access or whatever, does that still happen, or are you left clinging for more like we are?
So what I will tell you is that after the credits, or like after, I don't know when exactly it was, but I made the conscious decision to shut off the streamer, and content was coming on, and I was like, oh no, this looks like next week on.
Okay.
So either I missed something that was part of the show, or I turned off the next week on. I didn't want to see it. It was like I saw Q talking to Picard about stuff, and I was like, oh, hold on. This could be, I'm trying to avoid that stuff.
Right. Cool. Okay. Well, so I don't know any obviously this was we'll talk about our thoughts on it, but I'm quite glad we haven't got a whole season to wait. Or, we haven't got to wait to the next season for an answer to this cliffhanger. I'm glad it's only a week, if you know what I mean, because I was like, wow, I thought this was a great way to end the episode, but but it does set up many, many, many questions. So, have you got any sort of random theories or speculation or anything that you want to kick off with?
Well, so random speculation is the whole stuff about his mother.
Mhm.
I think or I hope that there's a lot more there, because what was in this episode, I was a little bit like, okay, I don't quite understand this. I'm just going to ignore it, and let's see if it develops, right?
Mhm.
Like the flashback scene, right? So I think that we're going to get some like mama trauma in here, that will, give another character an opportunity to tell their story, and then it's going to be how that affected Picard. And I think or I'm hoping that we get a lot of John Delancey, and that it's not just, you know, I guess it was like Encounter at Farpoint, right, where he shows up at the beginning and at the end,
Mhm.
um, and more like some of those middle episodes of Next Generation, where Q was always around during the thing. Yeah, and my guess, based on the costume for the Borg Queen, is that we are not going to see that same actress. But I don't
Right.
know. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, so I've got on the screen there. Um, Obviously, the Borg Queen has been played so far by three different actresses. We had Alice Cridge played the original Borg Queen in the film First Contact, and she did come back for Endgame, which was the last Voyager episode. But also Susanna Thompson played the Borg Queen a number of times in various episodes of Star Trek Voyager over those seasons. And then, of course, we had last season, we had actress Annie Wershing, who's I've got pictured there, come back. She played the Borg Queen in that sort of brief appearance that that the character had in season one. So
Yeah.
the first sort of question I've got, which I'm assuming that all of that did actually happen, and that wasn't just Q manipulating everything from the start. I'm assuming that the rift and the Borg cube and the appearance of the Borg is literally something that's happening, and not uh, a scenario being
Mm.
controlled by Q. Bearing in mind, Q was the one who first put them in touch with the Borg in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Way back. So I don't know. Any thoughts on that? That's why I've put those pictures there. Is like
Yeah.
how much is the Borg Queen going to play in this? Are we going to get, is Annie Wershing going to come back to play the Borg Queen, or are we just going to see this iteration with the sort of
The alien
featureless
mask.
face that we got there? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think my guess would be that it's always Q manipulating, but um, I do think it did happen, and that yeah, Picard will get the chance to go back and replay that, so that
Yeah.
they don't destruct the ship and everything doesn't blow up.
Right.
But yeah, I think I said I don't think the Borg Queen will come back, but I might be wrong. Who knows?
Okay. And was it me, or did some of this remind you of uh, Control from
Oh
Star
yeah.
Trek Discovery?
No, yeah, the way that they had like the tentacles coming out of the Borg Queen
Exactly. Yeah.
were very much like the Control from
It was the
Discovery
Control,
season
wasn't it?
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
I mean, it was Section 31 computer,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spoilers. Sorry.
Again,
Don't watch it. Yeah.
is there any connection there? I don't know. Who knows?
Oh yeah,
It could.
they could.
You know, I mean, all things are kind of possible, and you know, sometimes, sometimes I notice this is becoming a bit of a trend with connected media these days. Is a lot of franchises will actually create something to try and fix something that didn't work particularly well in a previous iteration. And
Yeah,
I think many people thought that whole control thing at the end of that would be Discovery season 2, I'm guessing, yeah,
yeah,
was a bit of a letdown, right? So,
yeah. And the
uh,
timeline works there, kind of, right? Uh, if they it right because control was coming from the future for TOS time frame,
yeah,
and so that would be yeah
yeah,
30 years or Picard time frame. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly. The other thing I've got, again, for the benefit of people just listening and not watching, I've got pictures there of Q and Guinan from the Next Generation, because they had history that was hinted at, right? And remember, they had that sort of standoff against each other. And
yeah.
I'm just wondering, as they are both guest stars in this show, do you think something might play out there?
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought that might have been a bit of a crazy one, a crazy speculation on my part, but
No, I think
I just wondered, because I always remember. Of course, I'm blanking totally now on which episode that was in, but I always remember that bit where they did have that sort of you know, face off with one another, and it implied some history there. And then, of course, in Generations, we realised that Guinan was around. You know, she was aware of the Borg,
yeah.
um, and she was very aware of Q. And I'm just wondering if this is going to be like a sort of cross section of all of those things going on.
Ooh, that would be fun.
So,
Yeah.
but um, but that's cool. Um, I've got a picture there of oh my god, what is wrong with my
Laris.
memory today? Laris, thank you. I was going to say Orla Brady, but that's the actress. Yes, Laris. I mean, I have to say, I think Picard would be doing quite well for himself. I'm not, I'm not going to lie. I think he'd be doing quite well for himself there.
Yeah.
Do you think, is there going to be a happy ending with those two, or do you think he's just going to run away from this one as well, like he has so far?
I so I would love for him to run away from it. But I would have also loved for him to have died at the end of season 1.
Right.
So if I had to guess, I would say that they are going to either, go for it, or they're going to introduce, you know, some other female character, maybe the Borg Queen, and then he's going to settle down there. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no mention of Dr. Crusher in this.
No, no, that's
Yeah,
kind of interesting, because, of course, in
well,
this time frame, in another timeline
in
that
another
we saw in.
Q-inspired timeline.
Yes, exactly. Then they would have been married and divorced by this point. But yes,
Yeah,
uh, in, it's complicated. But yeah. So here's the thing. Then here's something to sort of get into here as well before we move on with this. But the ending then. Um, I've tried to avoid any reviews, or I'm going to watch all of that stuff once we've recorded this, but I've tried to
yeah.
avoid any of that. But I can't help but hear, people have said, is this the mirror universe? You even see when he comes in, you see his reflection shattered in mirrors and stuff. And then, of course, the uniform is different, and we've got
Oh,
picture, the portrait on the wall of him wearing like the Star Trek Wrath of Khan style clothing, but in black.
I
And
missed that.
you know,
Okay.
and obviously Q has got a goatee when he ages himself up. But here's the thing. I think personally, this is just me. I think if it's the mirror universe, that's a little bit obvious and has been a little bit overused. I think in the fact that we've had
Yeah.
quite a bit of discovery, at least the discovery I've seen,
Yeah.
take place in the mirror universe, and it just seems. I'm just wondering whether it's, he says it was the path not taken. And I
Yeah.
wonder whether it's an alternate universe rather than a mirror universe where things are slightly off.
Yeah.
I also wondered, and because it was referenced, again, another Easter egg, if you like, Gainan, when she's talking to Picard, says that they've even, crossed universes together, which, of course, is a
Yeah.
reference to yesterday's Enterprise. Now, we know that timeline ceased to exist at the end of that, but it did start with a spatial anomaly, a rift, which brought the Enterprise C back. And
They
I'm
also went
wondering
into the Nexus together.
exactly. So there was that as well, right? So I'm just wondering if this is something like that, where this is a, as if that yesterday's Enterprise timeline had continued, and it was a, like a branching
Yeah.
timeline, or we're all into this timey-wimey, right, with everything now. But whether or not this is a future, this is the time period he's in. But if the Federation had remained at war and he'd had a career as a a warring leader, like a general or something, of an army, you know what I mean, and this is like an
Totally. Yeah.
alternate timeline with that, and that could be quite fun, I think, because yesterday's Enterprise is indeed a fan favorite. I know it's certainly one of my
Yeah.
favorites, but it's very popular out there. So I'm just wondering, we know that timeline was closed off. We know that, but the fact that there was a rift in space that brought the Borg through makes me wonder whether it's something to do with that as well.
Yeah, I think I much prefer the offshoot timeline theory to the mirror universe, because go back and listen to our other podcasts to know how I feel about that.
Yes.
But yeah, and then my snarky comment there is the writers of Deep Space Nine were more than happy to go tap that well way more times than they should have. So no reason why they wouldn't do it here too. But when I watched it, I guess I didn't pick up on as much as you did there. Again, not a surprise to anyone who listens to this podcast frequently.
Well, I actually need to go back and rewatch it, because I have literally only seen it the once, but I was like, oh my god, I mean, I sent you a text, didn't I, saying holy shit, right?
Yeah.
Because the ending was like, wow.
Wow.
And yeah, and I was just like, well, what is this? I mean, it did what it was supposed to do. It left me wanting more.
The way that I took it, because Q says the path not taken,
yeah,
it made me think that, similar to what he did with the heart thing and the path not taken there, is that they were going to show Picard what his life would have been like if he got married and stayed and took over the winery after his brother died, right? And so
right.
it would be like, this is what happens when Picard doesn't look to the stars,
Mm-hmm.
when Picard looks home. And so we get to see what that life would be like. And then yeah
Now that makes sense. One more thing
yeah
on speculation.
yeah
His mother, I'm liking
yeah
the fact that they've kind of brought that into this, particularly, as he's a character that is approaching 100 years old in the show and all of this sort of thing. And, the fact that we're sort of, like going back to his childhood, quite literally.
Yeah.
But, there was some interesting imagery there that kind of, I don't know whether it implied domestic abuse. I don't know whether it implied abduction by a alien race, but I don't know. Any sort of thoughts there? Because that left me very intrigued as well.
I think they definitely implied something, right? Which is why I said, like, we're gonna find out whatever her trauma is, and how she rose above it for sure. And yeah. I think that's coming. And snarky comment here is that, do you only like it because yet again they've made a French person speak with a British accent?
Yes, yeah, there you go. Listen, I am conscious that this one is running long, so do you think it's time to draw a line?
I think, yeah, it's time.
So the line must be drawn here. Are you enjoying the new transitions?
I love those new transitions so much. Yeah.
Always playing around with the format of the show here. Bit like the creators of Star Trek are. So, so this is where we go into what we really thought about it all. So, as always, I'm rabbiting a lot, so I'm going to let you take us away with this, Pete.
Okay, so I'm going to start with my stupid nitpicks.
Yeah, I have those too.
Okay, it makes no sense for them to beam grapes off the vine or to beam labels onto wine bottles. And all I could think watching that was like, power was always an issue, right? In space. Like, we don't have the power for this. So why are you wasting power beaming grapes off the vine?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh. Anyway,
well,
that annoyed me.
That's a valid nitpick. Was actually one of mine as well. The way I look at it is, I always thought that there were certain traditions, even with the advancement of technology, and the impression that I got in like All Good Things, when we first see, well, it's not actually when we first see the vineyard, we first see it in Family, don't we, that follows the best of both worlds. But my thought was always that wine was, everything was done the way it's been done for hundreds of years, and why hundreds of years from now would it be done any differently, right?
Yeah.
And so yes, the fact that they're beaming liquid and the label one I can kind of deal with, that
oh gosh, I hated it.
But I did sort of think, oh, this kind of takes something away from the fact that I thought the whole point of the harvest and the maturing of the wine and all of this was supposed to have been a tradition, a centuries old family tradition. And why, 400 years from now, why are they doing it differently? So yes, that bugged me as well.
Robert is spinning in his grave. Okay.
Yes.
Then okay. So that's that one. I'll get into that one later because that one's a little bit more. The other like tiny nitpick I have, okay, 2 of 3 tiny nitpicks is you can't threaten us with Picard dying anymore. Like, having Picard dying is no longer a tension builder, because like he's already died and they gave him an android body. So like opening with the spaceship about to blow up and Picard's life being in danger, I was like, yep, nope, don't care. He's an android. Like, he's already died once.
Yeah.
Enough. So it's like they that was just sort of like, I think the writers need to realize that having Picard be threatened with death is no longer a useful tool in their toolkit. especially not in episode 1 of season 2 of a show called Picard.
Yeah.
Number
On that point, I should have I should make more notes. But one of the things I meant to sort of say during our intro for the whole show actually is the fact that 2 years ago, a whole pandemic ago. Amazing to think back that far, isn't it? But but you and I, we started this podcast and we were like very, very happy with Star Trek Picard season 1. However, I think we both agreed that we felt the show didn't stick the landing. And one of the things that we both hated, spoiler, but then why would you be listening to this if you didn't know this anyway, but was the fact that, Picard dies and we thought that was brave, but then gets his conscience put back into a synthetic version of himself, which is what this character is. And they seem to have sort of brushed over it. You did get Jurati did say you look positively positronic or something when she sees him. But other than that, they have kind of, I think, tried to not wrecked on it, but certainly skip over it slightly, haven't they?
Yeah.
That comes in
much like Alexander, everyone is better off when they ignore that he exists. Right?
Oh, is this Worf's kid?
Yeah, Worf's kid. Yeah. Who, like they will only talk about when it's absolutely necessary. So that one, I totally agree. Last minor nitpick is he calls out Elnor in Starfleet Academy as the first fully Romulan cadet, and like I just thought that was so weird. And also then I was like, hey, hang on a second. In season 1 of Picard, you had a Romulan infiltrator in Starfleet, so no, he is not the first fully Romulan cadet to go through
that's
Starfleet.
a really good point. Yeah. Well,
because the head of Starfleet security. I was like,
No,
fully is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sense.
Yeah, the thing that I looked at, the kind of the reason that he made a big deal of saying fully is because I know fans will really argue this point, because I don't know whether it was ever said on screen, but certainly in the novelization, and I don't know whether this is canon or what, but Savick was supposed to be half Vulcan, half Romulan.
Yes.
Apparently. So again, saying fully Romulan, kind of, because otherwise somebody could go, oh, hold on a second, Savick was a cadet in Starfleet and she was,
that was said on screen.
Was it? Okay, I thought it. I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember.
I think so. I think so. And the other, I think I've brought up this nitpick before, like, Romulans and Vulcans are the same thing, right? So, it's like I feel like it's a weird distinction to be like.
What is it? The ones from the north have the forehead ridges, and no Irish accents.
So it's such a weird separator or categorization to make for me. That was one of my nitpicks. Okay.
Now that's a nitpick. And any other, before we sort of go into just our general thoughts and whether we liked it and all this, any other nitpicks? Because I do have another one.
I have another one.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be a bigger topic, right?
Okay. Mine's a silly thing.
Okay, go with your silly thing.
Your laugh, because this is, anyone who knows me will be. Oh yeah, this is so typical of the sort of thing that would bother Keith and no one else. So and Star Trek's no newbie to doing this. So they've changed the uniforms yet again. It's like how many, uniforms now don't even last, a year before they're changed.
3 months.
It's just exactly
3 months.
because this is supposed to be. This is actually kind of real time, isn't it? Is this? Did they say this is 2 years or 18 months or whatever on since the end of season 1? Yeah, but
I thought it was 3 months since season 1.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Maybe I've only watched it once, so I might have got that wrong.
And maybe
I know we're literally in the 25th century with this now, aren't we? Because it was 2399 or whatever in season 1, but we are in the 25th century now with this. But which I like, because it's a time period that's far enough ahead that the tech can look new without damaging any continuity, and it's not as far forward as they are with it's still, what is it, 600 years on from, or Discovery is still 600 or 700 years in the future from this, isn't it? Which is quite distant. But anyway, so yeah, they've changed the bloody uniforms again. But the other thing I thought was weird, and I thought, is this a continuity error? And it doesn't really matter. I'm sure I'm the only person it bothers. But when, in fact, I've got a drawing there. So in the bottom left corner there, where Picard is about to leave, he's got the book and whatever, and he's about to go and give his speech. He's wearing like a sort of ambassador's suit or whatever it is, but then when he gives the speech, he's actually wearing the proper admiral uniform. But then in the scene afterwards, when he sees Elnor, he's back to the suit again. So he changed just for the speech, did he? Because I thought he was ready. I don't know. It's just a nitpicky little thing that kind of, these sort of things drive me mad, which is silly, I know.
That's awesome.
But also the fact that the uniforms are completely different again, and it's like, wow, that, and I believe even with Strange New Worlds, when that comes out, they're changing the Enterprise uniforms again, and it's like, I mean, it's great for cosplay merchandise, I guess, and pin badges like this, but I don't know. But anyway, that's,
I don't know why they're doing that. Yeah,
silly little nitpick. So here's the big question, Pete. You and I haven't talked before today. We've been talking a lot about this. Is this working for you generally? Were you happy with this?
So I think I have a big reservation with some of the stuff in it. But I think I am optimistic, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of this episode. I will say that, I am lucky in that I have seen a lot more Trek in the last 6 months than you have. And without, getting into it, I will say that there has been good Trek in those 6 months, and there has been awful Trek in those 6 months. This was definitely on the good side. And so while like certain things in it really make me nervous or like annoyed me, I'm looking forward to next week. Right.
Yes.
And so I can't wait to see the next episode. I think that, I'm really annoyed with sort of how they're handling a lot of the characters from season 1 and what they're doing with them here in season 2. And so like Girardi, I was like, what the heck is going on here? Right. And Daj, not Daj, Soji, whatever, sorry. Whoever Issa Soji is playing, I felt like they were like, here she is, she's fine, goodbye, right? And then she's gone, and I don't know if we're gonna see any more of her. But then at the same time, they're like, we're definitely getting the whole gang back together again, and then they're ignoring the whole gang.
Yeah.
The thing. And so it felt really weird. It felt like, oh, Raffi was back, right? I didn't even mention her in the wrap up, but like Raffi was back, and the thing that sort of annoyed me, and or I was like, oh gosh, are they going to try and do this? Was like, are they going to try and mirror Picard's relationship issues in all of the supporting characters, right? Because they like referenced Raffi and Seven of Nine's relationship and why it didn't work, and they like referenced Girardi having a bad go of relationships, and then I'm like, well, the only thing that's next is like um Soji having her relationship issues come up, or Seven of Nine, and like I'm like, are you just gonna keep like rehashing many versions of the same thing to um to make the point stronger about Picard? Because that seems weak to me, and so I was hoping for better on that front.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean, a lot to unpack there. What you've just said,
Yeah,
but first of all, yeah. So I do feel like this show, and it's interesting. Like obviously, of course, all of the creatives from last season still get their executive producer title, which is contractual and everything. But obviously, they've changed showrunner here for this with putting Goldsman in, and I don't know whether you feel this, but they've obviously brought back all of the cast from the first season, but it does feel like a kind of soft reboot to me, because when we left them last season, they were still on the ship, which again I've blanked on. La Sirena.
La
What was the name
Serena.
of it?
Yeah,
Yeah, La Sirena.
Serena.
They were still on that, and Picard, gives the engage, and it implied that they as a crew were going to go off on adventures. Yeah.
Yeah,
And obviously they weren't all officially part of Starfleet at that point. And, obviously Agnes and Rios had a sort of relationship, and they
yeah,
implied Seven of Nine and Raffi, we're going to have a relationship. And also, of course, Girardi had also, she'd murdered somebody, which we were all like, well, how are they going to deal with that? And all of this sort of thing. And of course, Picard was reincarnated in a synthetic, and, all of that stuff. And this season started straight away with kind of, we get Girardi's drunken rant, which sort of explains that she was kind of dropped of those charges because she was under the influence of an alien race mind manipulation or whatever it was. I can't remember the exact line.
yeah.
And
Another nitpick. Why are you saying alien?
Yeah, okay.
Like,
and then she and Rios broke up, and obviously Seven of Nine is back, doing her sort of missions of mercy and all of this sort of thing. And so it does feel very much like a bit of a soft reboot. I have to say though, very pleasing. Like, I like the fact that it's familiar yet different. And what I mean by that is, I was never really of a fan of being on a ship that looked like it should have been in Star Wars. We discussed that at great length, didn't we? And the opening battle on this, which is familiar. We've seen that a lot of times, but it was nice to see it on an updated Starfleet vessel that still looks like a Starfleet vessel, in the Stargazer, not that horrible cut and paste, copy and paste thing that they had at the end of season one. The ships still have their identity. They look like proper Starfleet ships, and we're back with uniforms, and okay, they've changed, but we're back with uniforms, and we're back with familiarity. So it felt like a warm blanket as far as that's concerned, but it did feel very much like they were sweeping the things that people might not have been happy with from season one. And I wasn't happy with the ending of season one at all.
Yeah.
We discussed that. And like you said, there's a lot of you say I haven't been lucky enough to have seen a lot of Star Trek of late. I know those who argue that I've actually been lucky that I've not seen Star Trek of late, because there's a lot of discourse and vitriol out there about Star Trek in general. Yeah. But for me, this is the most enjoyable Star Trek I've had in a while. Actually, I'm not going to lie. I've even Discovery season 3, which I like the fact that they, again, we've talked at length about this, that they've moved into the future and allowed something that, even that I felt didn't stick the landing. And I didn't like the thing like the modifications that were made to Discovery, and the fact that nobody seemed to understand schematics of battleships, with them being like the Death Star inside the turbo lifts and all of that, all of that stuff. Whereas this felt, I even hate to use the phrase, but this felt like proper Star Trek. And
you used the buzzer.
I know that's a horrible phrase to use. I know, but do you know what I mean? Though, do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean.
It was different enough, but it was also satisfying. And the other thing, sorry, I'll end this waffle in a sec. The other thing that I really like about this, and the thing that I hung on to here, and again, it's a shame that they did what they did with the Picard character at the end of season 1, because the thing I like about this is it's about something. I like the fact that it's Picard dealing with the choices that he's made through his life, his fear of commitment and his passion to explore strange new worlds, to do all of that stuff, and to see the stars, and to be a stargazer and reach for the stars, but at the expense of him now being the last in the family line, in a family line of explorers and winemakers. But yeah, so it's about something, and I hope they stick the landing with this, but they've certainly intrigued me. And the ending was, I loved the cliffhanger here. I was like, this is how episodes should end, because I just can't wait till Friday now. And annoyingly, I'm not here, so we're going to have to discuss what we're going to do for next week's episode. But that's a whole nother thing. But yes, so that's my long blurb.
I think that's a great way to say it, right? Like, and what I'll say about Star Trek is that for me, Star Trek is like pizza. Sure, there's some of it that's better than others, but at the end of the day, you're still eating pizza, and that's pretty good. And I'd rather be watching Star Trek than something else. So yeah.
Okay. Well, that brings us really nicely then into something new that we're doing, which is our rank pin ratings. It does kind of almost work like an out of 5, I guess, or out of 4. But we thought it would be something different from doing, grading with letters or numbers. So we're going to do it with ranks. And again, for those of you that are listening on podcasts, if you're indeed still with us after all this time, thank you if you are. Give us a like and all of that. But yeah, so we've got captain, commander, lieutenant commander, lieutenant junior grade, and ensign, and this is how we're going to rank the episodes moving forward. So Pete, how would you rank episode 1 season 2, the Stargazer? What's
I think
rank?
I'm sort of waffling between 2 ranks, and so in honor of Data, I will give this a lieutenant commander rating.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it would be, I don't know. I thought it would be higher for some reason.
Well, so I was waffling between Commander and Lieutenant Commander,
Right.
and so I'm downgrading it slightly for just because I couldn't figure out which one would be best, and so I'm going with yeah. Sorry, there's a light now in my background. I'm trying to avoid.
That's all right. You're not on
uh,
screen at the moment, anyway.
yeah, but when you bring it back, it's going to be distracting.
Oh, yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
And so that's why I went with Lieutenant Commander.
Okay. Well, this is
Yeah.
this is bold to start with, but
Yeah.
I'm just purely going on my enjoyment factor. You know, I've got my nitpicks, as we've already discussed at length, but I'm going to give this a Captain Picard.
Wow.
Because I would say, for me, this has been the best episode. I know it's only the first episode of season 2, but it's been the best episode of Picard for me, even more than the season 1 opener, which I enjoyed.
Yeah, I feel like season 1 episodes like 1, 2, and 3 were strong. So I am impressed. Yeah, you gave it a full Captain.
I really enjoyed it that much.
Yeah.
Again, I know we haven't talked about it. I just sent you a text saying "Holy shit," you know, for the ending. But
yeah, but to be fair, as soon as I waited until it was Friday, your time, so I could text you and be like, "Have you seen this?" Because yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
No, I thought it was fantastic. I can't wait to the next episode. As I said, I'm actually going to be up at Fright Fest in Glasgow this coming weekend. So so we might be a little late with the next episode, unfortunately. But which actually dovetails quite nicely into well, before we do, anything more you want to say about this week's episode?
No, I think we've covered it. Yeah.
Okay. In that case, let's open a channel.
Oh, that brings this episode to an end?
Yeah, sorry.
No.
I messed that up.
Oh, no. Go for it. Redo?
No. It's all right. There you go. There's the slide.
There's the slide.
I hit the wrong button. There you go. We went to warp. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've been Pete Mealy. Like it says, you can find me on Twitter at Too Many E's. Keith, where can people find more of you and your work?
Yeah. So you can find. Well, you may be watching this on at Home Media Minefield on YouTube. If you are and you have enjoyed this, please, as I said, give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing and hit the bell icon for notifications. That sort of thing does really help us out. You can also follow us on social media at Home Media Minefield or at LSWOTcast, LSWOTcast, short for Let's See What's Out There. I've also got a question. So this episode we're going to drop, but we haven't done it as a live stream. We've done it as a video stream. We've recorded it live, hence why there's so many mistakes in this. But we haven't done it as a live stream, and that's a question to you out there. Please put in the comments below. Would you like us to do this as a live stream so that you could actually interact in the comments section and we can bring it up as part of the discussion? Or would you prefer that we just drop the episodes this way? We can be flexible with this now because we have the technology. So so let us know. You can actually email us at lswotcast@gmail.com. So yeah, please do so there. Just a quick look at some other recent things and some bits and pieces coming soon on this channel. So Pete and I were end of last year, we did a stream on Spider-Man No Way Home. We were joined by Graham Williams on that one, who's a good friend, and we discussed that movie in detail. I have also done on this channel, and I will put links, reviews of the home media for some of Star Trek, certainly not all of it, but again, if there's anything in particular you want me to review and look at the picture and audio quality and special features, please put that down below. And probably the same day that this is going to be up, so on Tuesday the 7th of March at 9 p.m.
8th of
UK
March.
time. Tuesday the 8th of March. Thank you, Pete. There you go, live again. Tuesday the 8th of March at 9 p.m. UK time, we've got our live stream babbling about the Batman, where I'm going to be joined by several guests to discuss the latest Batman film that came out this week, the same week as Picard season 2. I'm going to be joined by filmmaker Charles de Lauzarica. I'm going to be joined by filmmaker Ian David Diaz, and I'm going to be joined by writer Graham Williams. So,
nice.
Pete, do you want to join that? I didn't ask you. I've just realised.
Well, I haven't seen the new movie. When is it?
Okay. Well, that would be a problem then.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it will be a spoiler-filled conversation. So, that is coming soon as well. I think that's it. Yeah, my short films can be found at British Isles. That's EYLES, as in my last name. So please check out that channel as well for my films. And it just leaves me to thank William McLaughlin for our logo and Neil Myers for our original theme music for this. Neil's music can be found at neilmyersmusic.com. So anything else, Pete, to add?
No, I think that makes
it's been a long episode, hasn't it?
Yeah. But that makes it time, to say thanks to everyone for listening.
Yes, and thank you, Pete, for the gifts.
Thank you.
I did appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed our live unboxing.
I hope so as well, yes.
Cool.
We will see you next time on
Let's See What's Out There.
Yeah.